Hello, I'm Archbishop Robert Carlson. Let me take this opportunity to thank you for placing an importance on Catholic education for your children. A key component of Catholic education is the safety of our students and of our schools. It is unfortunate that in today's society, there are students who are dealing with so much pain and suffering that they turn to suicide as an escape. Remember, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem, and there are many people and resources that can help. The people in this video are going to show you what kind of signs to look for so that you can tell if your child is considering suicide and what you can do to get them the help that they need. Please remember me in your prayers. You know that I am praying for you and for your children. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nicole Ostrowski. I am a clinical therapist with St. Louis Counseling, formerly known as Catholic Family Services. The purpose of this video is to educate your children about suicide prevention. The Archdiocese of St. Louis and the Office of Catholic Education and Formation has partnered with St. Louis Counseling to make sure the information in this video is both accurate and comprehensive.
Hello, my name is Sergeant Gary Robertson. I'm the Crisis Intervention Team Coordinator for the St. Louis County Police Department. Because suicide is the third leading cause of death among 15 to 24-year-olds, the Archdiocese feels that it's important to talk about this subject with your children. And we want you as parents to be aware of what to look for and how to help your child if they're considering suicide. One important thing to keep in mind is that suicide is not about death. Young people who think about suicide, they don't want to die. They want their pain and suffering to stop. What we need to keep in mind is that pain and suffering are temporary, but suicide is a permanent solution to this temporary problem. There's no single cause for suicide. Suicide often occurs when someone is suffering from a mental health condition like depression, and the stress in their life has become more than they can cope with. Today will be an opportunity for you to ask questions and discuss suicide openly. And remember, you can always ask a teacher or your counselor at school. Many experts believe a number of things determine how vulnerable a person is to suicidal thinking and behavior. These include mental health diagnosis such as depression, if they misuse drugs or alcohol, having a traumatic experience during childhood, a history of physical or sexual abuse, or a history of parental neglect. Gay and bisexual high school students are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than straight students. If they are socially isolated, are a victim of bullying, or have few close relationships. A recent suicide of someone in the family, or the loss of a family member or a close friend. If they have previously attempted suicide, if they are self-harming, or engaging in risky behavior. There often are signs and symptoms when someone is considering suicide, and we want you to be aware if you see these in your child or in one of their friends. Most people who complete suicide have exhibited warning signs either in what they say or what they do. Things to watch for in your child include if they start talking about death or dying, seem to have a sense of despair or a preoccupation with thoughts of death. If they have attempted suicide previously, are harming themselves, or have started other risk-taking behaviors. If you see an overwhelming sense of hopelessness, helplessness, or worthlessness in them. If you notice they are giving away prized or valuable possessions or making final arrangements. If they have been depressed and are suddenly happy and elated, this could be a sign that they have decided to end their life to escape the pain they are in. If you see a change in their usual behaviors, like sleeping or eating, more or less than usual, dramatic mood changes, or lack of interest in previous hobbies, or academic changes like dropping grades. If they are suddenly unable to concentrate or focus, if they exhibit an "I just don't care anymore" type of attitude, if they withdraw from family or friends, or if they run away from home, if there is a loss of a relationship, real or perceived, or if someone that was close to them has completed suicide. There are many reasons that someone might be considering suicide. It's important to know that this feeling won't last forever, And your child needs to know that although it might not seem like it, lots of people do care and there is help.
When my girlfriend broke up with me, I was in a very dark place. I hurt so bad. I thought no one would understand what I was going through, that they'd think I was making too big a deal about it. I didn't care about sports or school anymore. All I wanted to do was sit in my room. My friends noticed a change in me.
You want to take warning signs and suicidal statements seriously. Suicide means death. This is not something that someone comes back from. Depression can come from stress, trauma in life, and day-to-day circumstances. It happens to everyone. We all just handle it differently. You may look at someone and think they've got it all together, but truly we don't know what's going on inside. Make sure your children know that it's important to share with someone what they are feeling and that asking for help is not a sign of weakness. If you had a cold, you would go to the doctor and get something to make you feel better. It's the same thing with depression. It's very treatable, and there are many people that can get you help.
It's hard to say why a young person would consider suicide. There are a number of factors that can contribute to this, like the recent loss of a loved one, a single traumatic event, or the stress of daily life. It's important for your child to know that this is temporary and treatable. Let them know that they can talk to you. If your child threatens suicide, first and foremost, take any threats seriously. If you're not sure whether your child is serious or not, it's always best to err on the side of caution. You can take them to a local hospital for a risk assessment, where they can determine if your child is just talking about suicide or they actually have a plan. If your child does have a plan, it's important to get them help immediately. Many kids today feel like they're being bullied on social media. And you as a parent, your immediate reaction might be to protect your children and take their devices away. It's important to not make them feel like they're being punished for talking about suicide. Instead, encourage the lines of communication to remain open. Tell them that they can talk to you about anything. If a classmate of your child completes suicide, it's really important to talk to your child about it. Ask them if they themselves have ever contemplated suicide. Encourage them to talk to an adult about how they're feeling. As a parent, it's really important to know the signs and symptoms of suicide. A child who's lost someone to suicide is at a greater risk themselves. If you learn about a child considering suicide, absolutely call the parents and let them know what's going on. I always encourage my students to never keep the threat of suicide a secret. I tell them it's always better to lose a friendship than a friend's life. Getting teens to talk to their parents can be difficult. Make sure you're creating opportunities for them to talk to you, like in the car. Let them know that no topic's off limit. Practice good listening skills and try not to lecture.
If you find, see, or hear something that leads you to believe that your child might be contemplating suicide, talk to your child. Your child may accuse you of snooping if you have found something they wrote in a journal, or if you see something that they have posted on social media. It is better to ask your child about these things and to get them talking rather than to worry that you snooped. They are not going to be happy with you, but better to have your child mad at you than have you ignore the signs and symptoms and lose your child to suicide. Some parents are concerned that if they ask their child if they are thinking about suicide, that they will plant the idea in their head. This will not give your child the idea, but instead opens the door for communication. After you've talked to your child, if you still question your child's safety, get some help. Most hospitals will conduct a suicide assessment, or you can call Behavioral Health Response, and a mobile outreach specialist will come directly to you.
When my girlfriend broke up with me, I was in a very dark place. I heard so much, and I thought that there was no help, no end in sight. And then one of my friends suggested that I talk to the counselor. I thought it was stupid, a waste of time. But every day, nothing changed, nothing got better. So my friends again suggested that I talk to the counselor. I did. I can't believe how much she helped me get through it.
As parents, you should know that suicidal thoughts are a symptom of severe depression and not just bad behavior. Teens' brains are not hardwired to think long term. Suicide is a short-term impulsive act. Your child's thinking is distorted at this point. If you are very concerned, call 911. You will be asked to describe the situation, and the appropriate resources will be dispatched. Remember, if you turn to help, your child's not in trouble. The counselors and police are here to assist you, and they will get you the proper resources. If you are seeing any of the signs of suicide that we've discussed here, please take measures to keep your kids safe by locking up your guns and any medication you might have in the house, especially if your children will be home alone. Statistics show that 90% of suicides occur between 3 p.m. and midnight.
In this video, we've let your kids know that if they aren't comfortable talking to you, their parent, or a teacher, there are a number of ways they can reach out for help for themselves or a friend. These resources are available to you as well. There are websites you can visit, hotlines you can call, numbers you can text. There are also additional resources like Kudo, Kids Under 21, or CHADS, St. Louis Counseling, and Behavioral Health Response. At the end of this video, we'll give you a list of all the resources. And if you need to, you can also visit your school administrator for a complete list as well.
Your children will have seen the student portion of this video at school. We encourage you to talk to them. Find out if they have any questions and let them know that you are open to talking about any of this. If you have any additional questions, please call your school administrator.